بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما أما بعد فالسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Over the last few weeks we have been speaking about the Muslim conquest of Persia during the reign of Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. And we spoke about the most important battle in Persia, which was the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah. Over the last couple of weeks we have been speaking about this historical important battle, which was really a turning point for the Muslims in terms of their strength and their power and their position as a world superpower. Taking down the most powerful empire in the world at that time, which was the Persian Empire, the Muslims having achieved this conquest and defeating the Persian Empire, that is something that put the Muslims on the map in terms of their strength and in terms of their political power. So this happened during the Khilafah of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. We spoke about the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah, which lasted 4 days. The first day, as we mentioned, was Yawm al-Armath, the day of chaos. It was a very chaotic start to the fight, but alhamdulillah, the Muslims were able to stabilize things. And that night, the first night, was Laylatul Had'a, meaning it was a very calm night. There was no fighting that took place that first night. Then the second day was known as Yawm al-Aghwath. It was the day of being saved, because the Muslims, mashallah, they really got the upper hand on that second day. They received reinforcements. Qa'qa' ibn Amr radiyallahu anhu, he arrived with his group of soldiers from Sham, and alhamdulillah, that was a great support for the Muslims. So the second day was Yawm al-Aghwath, the day of being saved. And that night was known as Laylatul Sawad, the night of blackness, because fighting continued on after sunset. Not like the previous night, which was completely calm. The second night was Laylatul Sawad, because even after Maghrib, after sunset, the fighting continued until about midnight. And then it stopped. And then the fighting began again the next day after Salatul Dhuhr. And the third day was known as Yawmul Amas, the day of intensity. That was the most severe day of fighting. And the night that followed that day doesn't have a special name. Yawmul Amas, the day of intensity, it continued into the night, and it continued for the whole night. So Yawmul Amas, it includes the day and it also includes that night as well. So the night doesn't even have a separate name, because the fighting continued from Dhuhr on the third day. It went on throughout the night, and then it continued almost until Dhuhr on the following day as well. So it was almost 24 hours of continuous fighting. So you understand why that day became known as Yawmul Amas, the day of intensity, severity. Can you imagine a battle being fought for 24 hours straight without either side resting or retreating? Right, so that was the most intense day of battle, the third day. And the fourth day was known as Yawm al-Qadisiyah, the day of Al-Qadisiyah. That was the final day, and that was the day of victory. And on that day, the Muslims, having started fighting the day before, almost fighting for a period of 24 hours, they were very tired. And of course the Persians, they were also very tired. Right? But the Muslims, alhamdulillah, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they remained firm and they remained strong. Qa'qa' ibn Amr radiyallahu anhu, he encouraged the soldiers. He said, just one more hour. We can't take rest now. Just one more hour, and inshallah we will defeat them. He didn't want them to take a break, because he felt if they retreated and the other side retreated and then they continued on the next day, it would give the Persian side some time to regroup and to get some rest and re-energize themselves. He didn't want that to happen. He said, okay, we're almost done. Let's just struggle a little bit more. Let's just push it a little bit more, and inshallah we can finish this thing today. So that is what they decided to do. And Qa'qa' ibn Amr radiyallahu anhu, he and another fellow soldier, they decided to go and infiltrate into the Persian lines to reach the commander of the Persian army himself, Rustum. And they thought that if we kill Rustum, if we kill the commander, the army is already so tired, the army is already so demoralized. If we give them this death blow by killing their commander, then for sure they're just gonna run away. They're not going to be able to continue this fight if we are able to get to their commander. And this is the best opportunity we have to get to the commander. Because even the guards of the commander, of course he's going to have heavy security around him, but these guys have been fighting almost for 24 hours. They're very tired. This is our chance. We can infiltrate them easily, inshallah, and we can get to Rustum and we can kill him. Once we kill him and that news spreads, this battle is over. So this was the idea of Qa'qa' ibn Amr. So he took a fellow soldier with him and they decided to go ahead and try to reach Rustum. And alhamdulillah, they were able to do it. They were able to get through the security of Rustum, who were very tired at this time. They were able to get through his line of security and they were able to reach him. And when they reached him, each one of them hit Rustum one time with their sword. So the soldier who was with Qa'qa', that was Hilal ibn Amr, he hit him first, and then Qa'qa' hit him as well. So both of them gave him one strike each with their sword. So he was struck 2 times and he fell down dead, Rustum. Rustum, this huge commander of the Persian military, legendary commander of the Persian army, he fell dead on the battleground in Al-Qadisiyah. So Hilal, he shouted out to the people, he said, "Qataltu Rustum wa Rabbil Kaaba." I swear by the Lord of the Kaaba, I swear by Allah that I killed Rustum. He said it loudly so that everybody could hear. Not only his own people, not only the Muslims, but he wanted the Persians to hear it as well. He wanted the Persians to know that your commander is dead. What are you going to do now? So this news, it spread out through both camps. The Muslims, alhamdulillah, they were happy. But as for the Persians, they lost all hope now. And this is exactly what was expected. This is the reason why they aimed to kill Rustum, so that the Persians would know that they have been defeated and they would completely lose all hope. So this is exactly what happened. Persians just started running away from the battlefield. They have no commander, no guidance, no instructions now. They don't know what to do, running away from the battlefield. The Muslims followed them and continued to attack them until the victory was complete. Dirar ibn al-Khattab, he was able to reach the grand flag of the Persians. The Persians had this huge, big flag, right? And that flag was really a symbol of the Persian Empire. So they had this, they had actually brought it with them to Qadisiyah and they planted it there. So Dirar ibn al-Khattab al-Fihri, he was able to reach that flag as the soldiers were running away from the battlefield. He was able to reach that flag and he smashed it to the ground. He cut it down, it fell to the ground, and then he smashed it. And he ripped up the flag. This flag, it was such a special flag to the Persians that it actually even had its own name. The name of this flag was Darfash Kabiyan, and it was a symbol of the Persian Empire. So this flag is on the ground, it is ripped up, it is destroyed, right? And that symbolized the end of the Persian Empire. So alhamdulillah, this battle was the turning point for the Muslims in Persia. And Persian soldiers, of course, they ran away from the battlefield. Most of the Persian soldiers, they ran away to Babylon. They crossed the Euphrates River and they ran away to the city of Babel, which is known as Babylon. And there were a lot of small cities around the area. Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, the commander of the Muslim forces, after Qadisiyah, he was easily able to conquer the rest of those cities in the surrounding areas. They followed those Persian soldiers who ran away and crossed the river. They crossed the Euphrates into Babylon. The Muslims followed them over there into Babylon. Now, alhamdulillah, Qadisiyah is complete. They have taken Qadisiyah. So the Muslims follow the Persian soldiers who ran into Babylon, and the Muslims were easily able to take Babylon as well. Within a few hours. They took Babylon within a few hours, literally, right? And a few soldiers, Persian soldiers, survived and they ran away. Again, they ran away to the town of Al-Kuthi. The Muslims followed them there as well. And they were able to take over Kuthi as well. Qadisiyah was the main area. Once they got Qadisiyah, everything else around there, it was very easy, alhamdulillah. So now the Muslims have taken that whole area, and now there's only one step left to officially take over the Persian Empire. Qadisiyah was the greatest victory, but there was still one step that had to be taken. You have to take the capital. In order to say that you have conquered the whole empire, you have to take the capital city. And the capital city is the city of Madain. And the city of Madain is where the palace of the Kisra was. Yazdajard, who was the Kisra of the Persian Empire, his palace was there in Madain. Now Madain, it's an amazing city, and it was considered one of the most advanced and modern cities of that time. It is on the Tigris River. So Qadisiyah is near the Euphrates River, which is more towards the west. As from Madain, it is towards the Tigris River, which is more towards the east. There are two main rivers that flow through what was known as Persia, right? The Euphrates River and the Tigris River. The Euphrates is on the west, the Tigris is towards the east. So Qadisiyah was by the Euphrates, whereas Madain, the capital, was on the Tigris River. Now the city of Madain, it was actually divided into two parts. There was East Madain and West Madain. West Madain, as you can guess, it is on the west of the Tigris River, and East Madain is on the east of the Tigris River. So the city, it's one city, but it is divided by the river. Similar to Istanbul today, right? Istanbul, it is divided by a river, and there's one part on one side of the river, and there's another part on the other side of the river, right? So Madain is similar to this. Now the palace of the Kisra in Madain was on the east side of Madain, in eastern Madain. And the Muslims, of course, when they're coming to conquer Madain, they're coming from Qadisiyah. So where are they going to cross first? They're going to cross the west first. They're coming from the west. So they're going to go to western Madain first. And then in order to get to eastern Madain, they will have to cross the Tigris River in order to get to the palace of the Kisra, which is on the eastern side of Madain, on the east of the Tigris River, right? So this is just, a geographical background of what the situation was. So the Muslims, they're coming from Qadisiyah. Their goal is to take over the capital now, to take over the palace of Kisra. They reached West Madain, and they were able to take over West Madain very quickly and very easily. Actually, West Madain was abandoned. When the Kisra realized that the Muslims have taken over Qadisiyah and that the Persian army has basically been obliterated, and those who have survived have run off here and there, and there's no organization anymore, the Kisra realized that, okay, for sure, their next step, they're going to come to Madain. They're going to try to take over Madain. So the Kisra, he wanted to protect his own palace and his own riches in the eastern part of Madain. The eastern part is more important to him than the western part. So he takes all of the soldiers, whoever is there, he takes whatever riches he has in the western part of Madain, and he moves it over to the eastern part of Madain. He crosses over. He makes his soldiers cross over the Tigris River from the western part of Madain to the eastern part of Madain. And there are ships, of course, the river is there, and there are ships that transport people and goods from the west to the east and from the east to the west, right? It is a modernized city with a port, with ships, with everything. So the Kisra orders, he says, take everything that we can from western Madain and bring it into eastern Madain and take all of the ships. There should not be one single ship left on the western